send this out to sea. So, let's think in terms when these events happen of how we could dissipate them with our energy. Our minds are very powerful things. And in these days, as we are moving closer and closer to the shifting that we're about to go through, the opportunities for us to be able to manifest with our mind get greater and greater. Therefore, we need to have a little bit more control about what's going through our minds. If we're thinking of disastrous thoughts, we might bring disaster to us. But if we find a way to calm those disastrous thoughts and think of positive things, we could bring that to us equally as well. It's very important that we understand what's going on with our mind. Jesus talked about it, the need to calm the mind. Buddha talked about it. It's a very important part of the process. The mind controls so many things, and if we're in control of our mind and we can use it in positive ways, we can control a lot. We can fix a lot. We can do a lot. And we certainly need to do this because I'm telling you, the powers that be that are out there, they have their own departments and organizations that are doing this type of activity, psychological, spiritual warfare, whatever you want to call it, using psychics and different departments. It's happening. It's really going on out there. So if the military is using psychics and the energetic people who can move energy to do things with them, and they're doing it for warlike activities, imagine what people can do if they bond together and they use it in peaceful means. It can be a very positive tool. So it's great to see stuff like this going on. All right, now a couple other stories here. We talked about people are being prepared and indoctrinated with certain amount of information every day. Now we look in the sky and we've been told for a long time about the solar system and the planets that are out there, and then we start hearing stories about Planet X. And is Planet X a brown dwarf star? Is Planet X Nibiru? Is Planet X just maybe an asteroid that might be going through? What is it? And as these theories come out, stories come out that kind of support these theories, or maybe condition people to understand and accept that there is something more out there that they might need to be aware of. Here's one. Surprise. Alien planet made of diamond discovered. A newly discovered alien planet that formed from a dead star is a real diamond in the rough. The super high pressure of the planet, which orbits a rapidly pulsating neutron star, has likely caused the carbon within it to crystallize into an actual diamond, the new study suggests. The composition of the planet, which is about 5 times the size of Earth, is not the only outstanding feature. The planet's parent star is a special kind of flashing star known as a millisecond pulsar, a rapidly rotating neutron star formed from the supernova. The entire system, which is only the second of its kind ever discovered, is located about 4,000 light years from Earth in the constellation of Serpentis, the snake. So a planet made of diamond. At this moment, how many astronomers or archaeologists or gold diggers or whatever you want to call them are finding out how could they get out there and mine this planet? Just get a little chunk of diamonds. How many women are out there saying, honey, get out there and get me that planet. Bring it back here. There's just a lot going on. All right. Now here's another finding that kind of goes along with this. This story came out the day before that one. NASA spots chilled out stars cooler than the human body. When you think of stars, you probably imagine massive burning balls of fire much like our own sun. But there are stars out there in space which could actually stand on and not be burnt to a crisp. NASA has known about these celestial bodies called brown white dwarf stars for a great long time, but now a satellite has spotted a particularly chill white dwarf that holds the new record for the coolest star at just 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, what is important about this is when they talk about dwarf stars. We've got a dwarf star that's out there. They're thinking that Planet X might be a brown dwarf star. They're thinking, this Elenin, is it a dwarf star that's coming through? So When stories like this come out, it's to get you used to information a little bit of advance about something that's going to be going on, so that when it happens, you're not completely off guard, or they've given you some sort of pre-notice about it. So very interesting indeed. Another story here we have says Khan resigned, said he did all he could given the difficulties he faced. This is from Japan Today. Tokyo Prime Minister Nato Kan on Friday announced his resignation as president of the Democratic Party of Japan, effectively ending his tenure. I resign as the party president effective today, Kan told senior party officials. Hey, I have an idea. Obama, you should take a clue from this guy. Why don't you resign? I think the whole country might, well, we'll write a story about it if you do. I mean, you're in Martha's Vineyard most of the time and off places not doing your job anyway, so why not resign and let somebody else who would actually want to do the job do the job? Now, we got two stories here. I'm not going to play the whole thing, just little introductions to them. This first one says FBI installed agent provocateurs setting up people for $100,000 a time. Here we go. Listen to this. You'll find this unbelievable.
We turn now to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or is it the Bureau of Instigation? That's the question raised by a new expose in Mother Jones magazine called The Informants. According to the article, the FBI has built a massive network of spies to prevent another domestic terror attack. But it suggests these spies are not only busting terrorist plots, they're actually organizing them. So the FBI can later claim victories in the so-called war on terror. Over the past year, Mother Jones and the investigative reporting program at the University of California, Berkeley, examined more than 500 terrorism-related cases. Their probe found that nearly half of the prosecutions involved the use of informants, many of them incentivized by cash rewards of up to $100,000 per assignment. Democracy Now!'s Angelique Kahmid and Big Noise Films' Jackie Suin reported on this phenomenon last year. They spoke to Imam Saluddin Mohammed of Newburgh, New Jersey, about FBI informants within the Muslim community.
All right, well, you're going to have to listen to the rest of that on your own because we've got to keep moving on, but there you go. FBI using agent provocateurs. We've talked about that. Here's an actual story that's confirming that. Very important to know this because the powers that be aren't out for your best interest. And the very institutions that you think that are out there looking out for your best interest are not necessarily doing that. They're looking for their best interest. And in some cases, it's how to stop you from doing the things that you are doing that might infringe upon the rights of humanity and liberty. And in this case, in these days, they just keep changing and restructuring the idea of what a terrorist is so that domestic terrorists now are the thing they're looking at, which is you, me, and everybody else in this country that's just going about their business. I mean, every day there's strange stories about people that are getting arrested for stupid things that you wouldn't have necessarily heard about 5 years ago. But laws have changed, rules have changed, police, FBI, CIA have become more corrupt, and as the system is really just going down the drain, there's all this lack of integrity going on in the world, and things like this happen. The FBI are now trying to provoke individuals into problems as opposed to just going in to fix them. Okay? Now this one here, I'm going to play just a little bit of this as well. It says former CIA officer Michael Schur to CNN host, "You're just carrying the water for Obama." I was watching this the other day, and we're going to have to zip through some of this, but he's on the show, right?
Help for Libyan rebels from the CIA. President Obama reportedly signing off on this. Sources say CIA operatives are on the ground in Libya and in contact with the opposition.
And joining us to talk more about the CIA's possible role in Libya from Washington, former CIA counterterrorism analyst Michael Scheuer. Michael, thanks for being with us this morning.
You're welcome.
So there are reports out, again, that the CIA is on the ground in Libya, contacting and vetting the rebels. Is this setting the stage to arm them?
I don't think there's any other possible reason for it. And the president clearly has sent the agency in to find out who he is supporting and to see what kind of material human material we would have to work with if the president decided to arm and train these people over the longer term.
How do you like that term, human material? Human material, that's pretty intense. So they're not just talking about a human being, human material. That's not a really cool way to think about someone, is it? I'm going to zip ahead here because, it's a little bit of a longer piece. The thing that's fascinating as it goes along, and these reporters really started getting into grilling this guy, they had their own personal opinion about things. And you could see, we're going to go from this point here, you could see the way the body language changes of the reporter once she puts her hands across her chest.
Apparently try to train and arm the resistance. That takes a long time. I don't know if we have that time against Gaddafi. What we're seeing is the president putting himself into a corner where his only option is ground troops.
But that's something that is not something that no one says that they want to do in this administration. I mean, they simply don't want to do that. They want
Well, they don't. Well, the choice may come down to admitting that it was a mistake and being defeated in the sense that Gaddafi survives, or putting ground troops in. Nations are a lot like people. They don't like admitting to mistakes. And maybe they don't want to put them in, but when it comes down to looking defeat in the face, I wonder.
You led the CIA's unit that tracked Osama bin Laden 1996 to 1999, and you believe that, much like that situation, America's involvement in Libya could prove to be a recruiting tool for extremists. Why?
Oh, it's absolutely a recruiting tool. It's the American-led West attacking a Muslim country that has
They've
oil.
been very careful to say it's not the American-led West, that NATO has now fully taken over the operations.
Well, that
yes,
may
our firepower was used in the beginning, but that this is a coalition that includes Arab states.
That may fool some Americans. It's not going to fool the people who sympathize with bin Laden and other Islamists. This is really a U.S.-led operation. And you talk about the Arab states that are involved. The Arab states are tyrannies that are hated by their own people. This is a piece of theater set up by Mrs. Clinton and Mr. McCain and the bipartisan group that loves to intervene abroad. In the Muslim world, this is Americans killing Muslims again, and it looks like it's for oil.
I just want to ask, are you trying to have it both ways and saying that, okay, these are tyrannies that hate their own people? Well, that's why we're helping, because in Libya, it was the people that wanted Gaddafi out, that they were tired of it. So weren't we then supporting Islamic democracy, I guess you could say, in these countries where they're tired of totalitarian rule?
If we were supporting Islamic democracy, that would be one thing. But if you listen to Mrs. Clinton, and especially the rather crazed Miss Rice at the UN, this is all about democracy in a world where democracy is not going to take hold.
I think it's very clear, Michael Scheuer, that you are no fan of this policy and this administration. I think calling Ambassador Rice crazed is certainly a significant charge.
Well, I don't know. I've just listened to her. That's only my impression. And I have to say, this is not a Democratic problem. This is a Republican problem, too. Both parties love to intervene in other people's business where there are no U.S. interests at stake and where we spend enormous amounts of money at a time when we're nearly bankrupt. That doesn't seem to me to be a wise practice of American statesmanship.
And that's a whole other story. That to call the United States bankrupt, the United States is running humongous deficits, yes, but the economy and this mission in Libya are two separate issues.
They're not separate issues, ma'am. You're just carrying the water for Mr. Obama.
I'm certainly not carrying anyone's water, and I will assure you of that. Michael Scheuer.
All right. She's not carrying his water. She can assure him of that. That's funny when those reporters get kind of called on the carpet by someone who actually knows what's going on. All right.